they kind of live in two places, and so when they're not here, that's where they are. And Patrick, look, you're doing good. I was yelling at him last week. He wasn't even supposed to be out of bed, and he's still walking around feeding homeless people last week. I'm like, go home. You just had surgery. You can push that forward. Get that out of your way. But it looks like you had a good week, so that's good. Good. Glad everybody's here. Always glad to see Elwood. Elwood, you don't see him all the time, but he's always a part of us, and always supporting, and he doesn't even know what a good friend he is to me. My dear friend David Van Cronkite, who I haven't seen in a minute, but I reconnected with him, and has no idea what. Well, maybe they do. Maybe y'all do know. I was like, you have no idea. Maybe you do. Like, yeah, we know. I mean, you guys are real important to me, so I appreciate that. And glad of it. What? You like my glasses, Leona? Now, come on now. Leona. When Leona gives you a compliment, it just feels very sincere. You know, it's like, it's just good. It's just good. And Ernie, bless his heart, Ernie is the most, he's so cool with her. He's like, we were walking, or aren't you? I think you are. We were at Gibbs Gardens last year, walking around. I said, where's Leona? He said, I don't know. She's out there talking to some man somewhere. I was like, well, as long as you're cool with it. If you can't be with the one you love. Okay, and I'm glad to have my friends Bernie and Penny, people I've known for years. Who you meet people that are from different parts of your life, and then it's really interesting when you see them together. It's like, oh wow, that's really it's kind of a full circle. Like there's a girl I went to grammar school with, I haven't seen in years, but somehow she ended up marrying a guy that used to be in our school when I worked with my dad here. I mean, I just would have never. I guess it's not that impossible to believe people in the same state could find each other. But I remember one day she texted me. She says, "You're not going to believe who I'm married to." And I said, "Well, she told me I could have fallen on the floor. How in the world would y'all have ever met each other?" So there's 6 degrees of separation going on. Today's going to be very different. This whole month's going to be different. So we're just moving in a little bit different direction today. But before you're seated, we're just all in. As the scripture says, one mind and one accord. We're all in unity. I don't have to, you're all mature people. You're all very next level. I don't have to take you through 45 minutes of working the music to get you on the same page. You came in on the same page. So we're starting with that assumption that everybody here is in agreement. And this has been a very good week. For me, every conversation as recently as yesterday, they were all just profound. I mean, it was like profound conversations that needed to happen. This whole weekend's been it's like planets lining up. The thing that happened in Charlottesville yesterday is tragic, and I don't know if you saw what I posted about it. I said, anybody that knows me knows I've never shied away from speaking out against racism. I said, I don't post a lot of things on my Facebook page because it's going to start the same cycle of arguments that everybody else is already doing on their page, and I can read that stuff already. I said, what to me matters is lifestyle. And I said, Metron is a community that already is diverse and inclusive, so our very existence pushes back the darkness. I'm not telling other people not to speak out, because I think you should, and I'm not afraid to. But just us being here speaks out. Do you understand? And without sounding too ethereal, I just want to say, just visualize a better world. I had lunch with David this week, and we were talking about this, and I posted it again today. Jesus, I love this statement Jesus made to the woman at the well. He said, the time is coming, comma, and now is. Meaning, yes, there's a better world coming, but for some of us, we already live in that now. We're seeing that manifested now. I saw those hands go back up there, Leslie, when I said, listen, come up here with us. I love you so much. Leslie came and prophesied to us last week. I was like, what? Anyway, we're all in agreement. And so please remain standing. We'll start officially, and because I don't want to just change everything on you. And then you can be seated. So glad you're here. Y'all look so cute.
Good morning. and welcome to Metron. Metron is measure or sphere of influence, and we want to help you find your Metron through motivation, enlightenment, transcendence, renewal, outreach, and networking. Today is your day to find your Metron, and we hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, willkommen. Those of you that have logged on, wherever you are in the universe, we welcome you, whatever time zone you are in. We love our YouTube and podcast audience. Podcast is the wave of the future, and the one that, yeah, come on in. The podcast I recorded with John Scott last week will be on sometime in September, but his podcast has just taken off. It's awesome. So I'm just so glad you're all here. So tell somebody that you're glad to be sitting next to them today, and then you may be seated. Hello, my darling. Good to see you. So glad you're here. Hey, what you drinking? Good to see you. Hey, there's room. Yeah, there's room over here. Don't spit. Go ahead. Glad to see my daughter and my granddaughters here. Three most beautiful women in the world right there. I'm changing it up a little bit today. Usually we start with the artist of the month, but I'm not using one this month. We're going kind of in a different direction, and I'll explain to you why in just a minute. I think most of you already know. But I do want to say a few things. First of all, last week was amazing. It was so great. We had such a great time. Michelle, do you have that little clip of the Greater Metron Sanctuary Choir? There was somebody. I think Keith got a clip of that. We were all singing "My God Is Real," which I could not get out of my head. By 11 o'clock that night, it was like, "My God is real." I was like, "Shut up! I cannot sing this one more time." But it was just, I can't imagine how last week could have been any better. The weather was perfect. Food was great. Doc and Francis bought us this beautiful cake, and I think I think it weighed like 40 pounds. And what did a boy on a bike? If you were wondering what happened to that cake, it's because a kid ran into it, but it still tasted good. And I'm sure that was aggravating when you carrying that thing up. Anyway, I was so pleased with everything, and it seems nearly impossible to believe that we've just finished 3 years. But I need to stop saying it because time is shifted. You know what I mean? Like there's a different direction right now we're going in with linear time. We did a whole series about the difference between Kairos and Chronos time. And it seems to me that somehow Kairos and Chronos are merging. Does that make sense? Like it's like everything seems significant and everything's happening fast, and it just makes you want to seize the day. It's like, well, I don't want to waste. Every day is important. Enjoying life is important. Being involved in nonsense and strife and bicker, it's just you don't have time for it. The thing, in the midst of everything that went on in Charlottesville yesterday, I was thinking about, not that Atlanta's perfect, but at least during the 60s when so much unrest was happening with the civil rights movement. Hey, y'all, come in, Paul. Good to see y'all. But I love that Atlanta's motto during that time was "the city too busy to hate." I love that idea, to be so focused on doing what's proactive and positive that you don't have time for the negative. So that was great. And even what I shared with you last week, it's all on YouTube, but just the historical significance of Piedmont Park and what it represented in the 1800s when it was the Cotton States Exposition. And it was always, that acreage there was always about being progressive and about prophesying to the future, and I feel like the fact that we were there last week, it was Chronos meeting Kairos. And I tell you this, David, back in the day we talked so much about Atlanta in prophecy. All those things are still true. Do you know what I mean? All those things that were prophesied. There is something significant about this city. There just is. And there's something special that continues to happen here, and we're certainly a part of that. A couple things about this month. 2 weeks from today, Calvin Witcher will be with us from California, and I haven't met him, but he's a mutual friend of Judah's and mine. He'll be here that morning, and then at Judah's church that evening at 5 o'clock. Very interesting guy. I don't know that we would be ready for him until now. This is sort of like, well, this is good timing. So that's going to be. I mean, I'm still going to be speaking. I'm not sure if we're going to actually do like an in the now kind of thing. He's just sharing some, but that's going to be an interesting addition. Our outreach this month is the Kidney Foundation, and we're specifically the. We doing the, what is it, Charles? The Georgia? Because I know we did the national once before. We're doing this in honor of Charles's mother-in-law who transitioned recently, and I know Jackie's talked about when she was a donor, the Kidney Foundation. It's really extraordinary what they do, and I love that. I mean, we've supported some churches, and that's been great, but I love that we've been able to support a lot of these organizations that aren't. They're not absorbed with building funds and, paying preachers. They're, they're actually doing. I'm not saying that. Believe me, I ain't mad at paying preachers. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there's other stuff, and I love these organizations that are vetted, that we know. Like this year, what have we done? What's the veterans, Wounded Warriors? We've supported them this year, and. I know we've done. It's cool when, just a lot of good ones. And I love when I meet Avery for our little staff meeting during the week. It's cool when she goes to the mailbox here and you just pull out all these thank yous, like UNICEF is thanking you, and St. Jude's Children's Hospital is thanking you, and it's just that's why I usually will take a picture of them and say, wow, we got a lot of good energy out there. Jesus called it planting seeds, and he was speaking to agricultural society, so they would understand seed time and all that. But it's really just putting energy out into good places, and that makes good things come back. And if you're a part of that, so you're the recipient of that. Our this year, for our year of living your best life, instead of doing a weekly thing, we've done a monthly thing, and we haven't done one of these this year. We did 4 of them last year, but this week, and Francis, I noticed you've already participated in this. It's a pay it forward, and the good thing about a pay it forward, especially when it's your theme for the week, it gives you a catalyst to say to somebody, "Hey, just go ahead and say church," because it's too difficult to try to explain spiritual community. The people don't understand it. So use words they can understand. To say my church is doing a pay it forward thing, most people already know what that means. And it's amazing. You just watch the countenance on somebody's face, just how you change the direction of their day. And even when I've been on the other end of it, something as simple as pulling up to a Starbucks window and them saying the car in front of you or pay for your coffee. It's just a coffee, but there's something about that. It's like, wow, that really brightened my day, and it automatically moves you in a direction where you want to pay it forward. And I've noticed the people that we've done, we've picked up the tab for the table next to us or whatever, and at first, they always look like, what you talking about, Willis? And what was I saying? I've noticed when I say it, when I do it, people will immediately say, oh, well, I'm going to go do that for someone else. So that's really cool. I'm not saying that would fix all the ills in the world, but it would make things a lot better if everybody just that little bit. So that's good. Our event for this month, we already did that last week. We're planning. We're already talking about what we're going to do for Christmas. You know, the last 3 Christmases, each one has gotten so incrementally better. I've raised the bar so high now. I'm like, good gosh, where are we going to go now? I mean, after you did Collinwald last year with Marshall Ruffin, who opened for Air Supply this week. I don't know if you saw that. Just at the last moment, I think they were at Lakewood. I mean, whatever. Air Supply's corny and all, but that's Air Supply. I mean, it's a good gig for him, and I may have him back next month. He's awesome, but after we did that last year, I don't know where we're gonna have to go to Radio City Music Hall and see the Rockettes for Christmas or something. Go ice skating at 30 Rock. Start spreading the news. Glad to see all the George family, all you guys, and all of your. I see all your accomplishments, and when you've watched kids in your life grow up, you feel like you've made some kind of investment, and they feel like your kids. You know what I mean? It's like when you see they did well at something, it's like, wow, that's really awesome. Of course, I've been around long enough now that like these giant men will walk up to me in a store somewhere and go, "Hey Bishop, how you doing?" I'm like, "Do I know you?" Yeah, I'm so and so's kid. Like, well, the last time I saw you, you were like this. So I was about to call security, but I'm now that I realize, no, I'm just kidding. So pay it forward this week. I'm thinking for our fall event this year, we may go back to Dillard House. We did that a couple of years ago. Last year we went to Bees and up Lookout Mountain. The year before that we went to Smith House. But Dillard House is really kind of awesome. So we'll hit it just right. It seems like every time we've done a fall thing, we hit the leaves just perfectly, and it's great. Let me tell you where I'm kind of going with, not kind of going, I am going here this month. I'm not really doing a teaching series per se. I'm not really doing an outline this month. The teaching is going to be a little more stream of consciousness, free flow. But I want to specifically talk about meditation. And the reason we have, bless our hearts, I wanted to light a candle. Well, this is what I visualized. I wanted to find something like this, but I wanted 2 of them because I wanted to light candles, because there's something about lighting a candle that creates, and that goes back to Old Testament, everything. I said, well, look at my Target. They'll have something. Well, Target didn't. Pier 1 Imports didn't. We went to all the places that you'd think you would go. So finally, I needed to go by the studio. So Ken said, well, maybe Paris and Ponce will have one. I said, yeah, maybe. Not on first look, they didn't. Finally, we found this. Bless its heart. This is our little Charlie Brown. It'll look fine. At first, we thought, oh, well, that's cool that it's all like sort of jaggedy. Oh, it's because it's broken. Okay. We thought it was intentionally that way. But in a way, it's kind of symbolic to me. I don't know that I like things to be too pretty and perfect. You know what I mean? I think there's perfection in the imperfection. So without just being too out there nearly seems to be some prophetic significance to me about this. I don't probably have to do this, but it's just so much in my DNA to explain things to you from a scriptural standpoint that I just want to show you. I just want to alleviate anybody's idea, is meditation, are we okay? I think y'all probably totally get it. I know there are a lot of people who watch us online that may need a little instruction, okay? So when I talk about meditation, I'm not talking about going into a trance. I'm not talking about anything that's weird or bizarre. I'm talking about something that is supported by the scriptures. Let me just give you a quick definition, and let me warn you, the guy who's saying this he's a Swami. So when you go, Swami, Swami, how I love you, how I love you, my dear old. No, Swami, it's just a title like Imam or and let me say this: if Jesus in the flesh walked the earth today, I promise you, he would have more in common with gurus, shamans, people that were more spiritually out of the box than most people who stand in pulpits and have organized his words into something that has devolved into the thing that we know as Christianity. Do you understand? I understand why when the disciples, they saw this guy who was out doing the ministry, and they came to Jesus and they said, he's not one of us. We didn't sanction him. They were furious. And you could see, the word Pharisee means separatist. So as much as they considered themselves not separatists, they automatically said, no, we're organized. We're the Jesus guys. He's, not one of us. And Jesus had such a different paradigm of that, something that's nearly completely lacking from the Christian church today. He said, those that are not against us are for us. I mean, there's over 40,000 Christian denominations in the world. Over 40,000. There's only 27 books of the New Testament. And it's the basic story, that Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem. I mean, even everybody from Pentecostal to Roman Catholic embraced that story. How is there that much division? So it shows you somehow we have this weird hybrid of Phariseeism and the message of the kingdom that became Christianity. And like I've posted and alluded to and taught about several times lately, I don't regret any of my spiritual journey, and you shouldn't regret any of yours. If you say, oh, well, I was in a Baptist church and I went down to the altar and I whatever the terminology was, I accepted Christ as my Savior. Nobody's ever going to take that away from you. If that was your road to Damascus experience, amen. Nobody's going to talk you out of that. I personally believe the salvation comes from our paradigm. As far as God's concerned, I don't think we were ever separated from him. I think we thought we were separated. That's why God says to Adam, who told you were naked? Oh, well, if you say you're naked, I gave you authority to whatever you call the animals is what I'll call them. So if you say you're naked and afraid, because I've given you that authority on the earth, then I'll have to call you naked and afraid. And all of religion just came up out of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and that was never supposed to be the paradigm that we were to create reality with. Y'all all know this. I know this is a review for all of you, but again, this is in deference to we have an unseen audience that's not just logged in today, but will be watching this a year from now, 10 years from now. So we have to be aware of that as well. And I don't mean to sound condescending. I want to explain it to people. One of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten through years of ministry is people saying, we're grateful for Children's Church, and that's great, but my kids understand everything that you're saying. You don't talk over their heads, and that's as it should be. If it's truth, you'd be amazed at how everybody can get it on their level. So, sometimes when I pick up the girls on the afternoon, one time recently, Sophia and I had this very interesting conversation about the Big Bang Theory and, science and everything. I said, well, yeah, science doesn't have all the answers, and spirituality doesn't have all the answers, and that's why we have to be. It was like talking to a peer, a colleague, because she was going, well, you're exactly right about that, and and I thought that's great that I can have this conversation with them. And she wasn't there Friday, so I picked up Olivia, and I said, what'd you learn today? So she was telling me a couple things. I said, how'd you know that? And she says, I have my ways. So anyway, it's, let's say it this way. Real recognizes real. And even, Patrick, the words you gave last week about y'all looking for churches and Natalie crying, your kids know more than, I'll say our kids know more sometimes than we realize they know.